I created a PowerPoint on differentiation for English language learners, but as you'll see throughout this PowerPoint, a lot of the strategies and ideas presented would also be beneficial for all students in your classroom. Since the purpose was to create a presentation that could also be used to present to school staff, I have also included some information about English language learners that I feel is very important for teachers to know. I will briefly go over these first few slides, but will not go into great detail so we can spend more time on differentiating your teaching for your English language learner in your classroom. So the first slide here I have is just some information that is important to know about English language learners. So the challenge of learning English varies from learner to learner. If a child has had previous exposure to content in their first language, they usually make greater progress initially. If a child can understand a concept in their own language, it will be easier for them to acquire English. As a teacher, you can allow the student to speak in their native language to interpret and discuss with another child from their country for better understanding. There are also many parallels between learning a first and second language. English language learners, like children who are acquiring their first language, often appear to understand the language before they can produce it. It is very common for students to go through a silent period. English language learners will often make errors in the language that would be made by a young monolingual speaker of language. Just learning English will not guarantee a student academic success. Many English language learners may appear to be proficient in social settings where contextualized language skills are sufficient, but may not have acquired the decontextualized language skills needed to understand academic concepts. Your English language learner will be acquiring two types of language in your classroom setting. The first that they will be acquiring is social language, which has been termed BICS, Basic Interpersonal Communication Skills. This language is day-to-day, it's face-to-face, it's context-embedded, it's meaningful, it's not cognitively demanding, it's not specialized, and it takes 6 months to 2 years to learn. The second language they'll be acquiring is academic language. This has been termed CALP, Cognitive Academic Language Proficiency. This language is academic, as I mentioned. It's read in a book or heard from the teacher. It's context reduced, it's abstract, it's cognitively demanding. It includes skills such as comparing, classifying, synthesizing, and this language takes 5 to 7 years with prior knowledge in L1, English Acquisition of First Language, or 7 to 10 years without L1 support to learn. I've listed here some tips on communicating with your English language learner that will help them feel more comfortable in your classroom and will help you also to communicate clearer with them. Things that you can do to help them are to speak slowly. You can learn to pronounce their name correctly, use gestures and pictures, simplify your message, ask simple yes or no questions. You can encourage your student to draw pictures or act out what they are unable to verbally communicate. Resist the urge to correct them. Give them plenty of time to respond to a question. Use names of people rather than pronouns. Show interest in the child's home culture and allow them to share with the class. Don't force the child to speak, and be patient with the child. I'll spend a little more time on these next few slides as I show some different strategies to help to differentiate for your English language learner that is also going to be very helpful for your other students in your classroom. The first thing I was going to talk about is that it's important to provide comprehensible input. The learner needs to understand the message being conveyed. For your English language learner, things like speaking slowly, paraphrasing, and using gestures and body language to get the meaning across is very helpful. You can also allow them to work in small groups, doing projects, interviews, or games. You can do things like think, pair, share, where they turn to a neighbor and answer a question or discuss a topic being talked about in the classroom, and this allows for everybody to be involved in what's being discussed, but also gives the English language learner a chance to talk and also listen to another student. Another great idea to use for your English language learner is to allow them to be part of literature circles. The second strategy I was going to talk about today that is helpful for English language learners, but is also very helpful for all students, is to make the lessons visual. Some ways you can do this are to provide pictures for vocabulary when able. You can provide maps, timelines, graphs, graphic organizers, story maps, drawings and charts. You can write and keep words posted in the room. You can provide an outline, or you can show videos or PowerPoint presentations. I'm going to show you today an example of a place that you can go to find videos that would be very helpful for your English language learner as well as other students, and this is Discovery Education Streaming, or United Streaming. The website is right here on this page. I'm going to go ahead and click on there now. This is a great resource to use in your classroom to show short little videos of topics that you're discussing in your class, or you can even find an entire video to show in your classroom. I use this a lot, even just to show a quick little 2-minute video of a topic we were discussing. Say it was a plant cycle, I could go in and type in plant cycle and find a video that would be applicable to my second grade students. So if you scroll down here, you can see just a few examples, a few videos that they have that you can use. They also provide quizzes, assignments, and writing prompts for students to use. And if this is something that your school district does not have, I noticed that you can request a school preview, and that may be something you can look through for a while for free, and then if it's something that you think you could use, you could talk to a school administrator about using in your classroom. And as I mentioned, PowerPoints are also another great way to provide visuals for students in your classroom. And an example of doing this is just to go to google.com, and if I was going to do a presentation, like I mentioned earlier, if I was talking about plants with my second graders, I would just type in second grade plant PowerPoint. Oops. And as you can see, different things have come up about elementary PowerPoints. I'm going to go ahead and click on this first one. I've looked at this one earlier, and this one is from a second grade teacher that has put her plant unit online, and the very first part of this shows a PowerPoint on parts of a plant, and as you look on here, she's also listed vocabulary, quizzes, and lots of different things that you could utilize in your classroom. I'm going to go ahead and click on the PowerPoint here, and as you can see, this is a great PowerPoint that you could use in your classroom that's going to provide lots of great visuals for your students, and this is going to be beneficial not only to your English language learner, but to other students in your classroom. And this is something that you would not have to prepare yourself. It's just a matter of going on the internet and finding a PowerPoint that has been made by someone else. I also found a website a long time ago that allowed you to download your PowerPoints, and on this website, it was just for teachers. You could share PowerPoints or lessons you had made, and other teachers did the same, and that way you could trade different lessons, and you had to actually contribute to the website to be able to take from it, and I cannot find that. So if anyone happens to know of a good website where you can download PowerPoints or lessons that you can share with other staff, I would love to know that, because that would be a great resource to use so that you're not creating something that's already been created. The next strategy that you can use in your classroom is to play music that explains or reinforces concepts being taught. And a great place to go for that is to go to youtube.com and to type in whatever it is that you would like to play in your classroom. So a couple examples I've done here is one on plant songs and one on multiplication tables. So I would go ahead and go to YouTube. When I get to YouTube, I would just type in plant song, which I've already done, and then it brings up a variety of different songs that I can choose from. And this is a song here that talks about the needs of a plant, as you can see. So as you can see, this is a great resource to use. I'm running out of time, so I'm not going to do the multiplication tables one, but I wanted to show you one other site that I found that would be helpful for finding songs to use, and this is called Songs for Teaching. And if you go on this website here, you can go and click down. You can see that they have songs on math, science songs, reading songs, social studies, lots and lots of different songs that you could use, and also some of these have actions that go with the songs that would be great to use with your students. The fourth thing that you can do to help your English language learner in the classroom, as well as all students, is to link new information to prior knowledge. And a great way to do this is to use a KWL chart with your students. It's also important to remember to define and discuss content and language objectives for each lesson using student-friendly language. I've given a couple examples here. The first one is a content objective, which is the student knows the main parts of a plant, stem, leaves, roots, flowers, and is able to label them. The language objective, which would be for your English language learner, is that the student knows that the word plant has multiple meanings. The sixth thing to remember is that ELLs require direct instruction when learning new vocabulary. Some things you can do to help them with this is to provide practice in pronouncing words, put vocabulary on word walls, tie new vocabulary to prior learning, provide pictures of vocabulary, and find words in bilingual dictionaries. The last thing I'm going to talk about today is to modify assessments. I've given a few examples of alternatives for assessing content. You can have the student take an oral test or read the test aloud to them. You can create a semantic map. Examples of this would be a spider map, a Venn diagram, a cause and effect map. You can also write the test in simple English. You can have the student demonstrate understanding. You can have the student sing. An example of this would be singing the ABCs. You can give the student keywords and word blanks for testing, and you can add pictures to assessment or give extended time to take the test. I hope this PowerPoint has given you some new strategies that you can use in your classroom, not only for English language learners, but for all the students in your class.